Well, it's good to see you once again here at UnityBits. What are we talking about today? Well, if you looked at the title, you probably know. We're going to be talking about script execution order. Now, did you ever wonder how in the world Unity determines when a script should run? Now, here's the thing. Let's create, just real quick, let's create a new game object. And we'll just call it test. I've got a couple of scripts that I've got here that I've already pre-done. And all I have is it's simply just an awake function, and then I'm just doing a debug log, and then the name of the script. So let's put these two scripts on this test object. All right. So let's see which one gets called first. I'm going to hit play, and you see there script 2 gets called first. Interesting. So apparently it doesn't have anything to do with the order in which they are on a game object as to whether or not they get initialized first. Now, the order that they are on an actual game object, I do believe, does affect in what order they're called whenever updates and things like that are called. I think I'd have to check that. But as far as initialization of these scripts, it does not affect it. We could even move 2 up like I had done just a minute ago, and you're still going to get 2 before 1. Or we move up 1 here, you're still going to get 2 before 1. Voila! So how can we, if we desire, let's say, to make script 1 be the first one to be initialized above all the other ones? Well, Unity has a nice little bit about that, and that is called the script execution order. Now you can find that in the project settings, and there you are right there, script execution order. Isn't that nice, dear? It's so beautiful. Let's look at it. Script execution order. It says add scripts to the custom order and drag them to reorder. Scripts in the custom order can execute before or after the default time and are executed from top to bottom. All other scripts execute at the default time in the order they are loaded. So there's this default time block, and that's the one that's where all scripts that don't have a custom order are executed, and they're just kind of arbitrary, however Unity decides to do it. If I want to stick a script in here, say I want script 1 to execute first, I can come in here, drag script 1 in here, either like this, or I can click this plus button, and every script I have in my project will show up right here. So I'm going to drag this in, and you can see I have this script time execution number of 100. Now, this isn't an actual time in milliseconds or anything like that. This is just a number that Unity sorts by. So the default time stuff is done as it's shown here before any of these scripts here with a positive integer number. So if I make this negative, say negative 100, then the sort becomes, okay, this script up here is going to execute first because it has the smallest integer number. So these are all going to be sorted by the integer number. The smallest integer number will get executed first, and then all the way down to the largest integer number. And just to show you, I can take script 2 and drag it in, and then we can start reordering them. And if I drag this before script 1, you'll get a negative 200. But if I take script 1, drag it here, negative 300. So you can drag and drop these in the editor, and they will change based on where they are, so that you can actually don't have to type the numbers in every time. So we want script, right now script 2 is executing before script 1. We want script 1 to execute before all the other scripts. Now, of course, these numbers, depending on what you might have, say if you have a library of stuff and you have a script, say some manager scripts, you may want to manage these numbers yourself, and you may want to put in some kind of really small number or something to ensure that they're executed absolutely first. If we did this says script 1 will execute before everything else. We hit play. Now we have script 1 executing first. That's bloody brilliant, isn't it? So that means that we can determine the order in which these scripts are initialized or run is first.
So that means our manager scripts, which say some of our other scripts would depend upon, we can have them initialized first.
But this is great. But one thing I don't want to do, for me, I don't want to have to, every project I set up, if I have a library of these things, I don't want to have to, every time I come in here for a new project, set all this stuff up, drag this stuff in, and type in these numbers. I want a better way to do that. And of course, Unity's lovely extension system will allow us to do that. Let me show you some stuff here as to how we can make that happen. So I put this back. So now we have script 2 executing before script 1. But I want to somehow programmatically add script 2 into this script execution order settings or preferences into a Unity project whenever it comes up. We can totally do that. Now, I'm going to pull up Mozilla Firefox, and I want to show you a few things here. Here's the script execution order settings page. You can take a look at that if you want to. That's really easy to get to. You just go into the manual. You can type in script execution order. Same kind of thing that I already said. But there is an editor attribute that we're going to use. And it's supposed to be used in an editor class. But there's a secret here. And that is you can use it anywhere you want. But there's a caveat. We can't use, so if we go in here and we say using Unity editor, that is going to throw a big fat error whenever you try to build it for something like, well, definitely Android. I'll show you. Let's just leave it like this and we'll do it real quick. So I want a function that gets called every time Unity loads, and this is what this says, an editor class method. So again, we're not supposed to put it on game scripts, but that's what I'm fixing to do. So it's initialized when Unity loads without action from the user. And let me clarify this also. When Unity loads, that means when it first comes up, but it also means every time you change your scripts and the Unity editor shoots off the recompilation of all of your scripts. So every time that happens, this particular attribute will get called, and then that method on which you have this attribute will get called. I can grab this attribute, and by the way, if you're familiar with C#, you know that you can leave this attribute prefix off of an attribute and just do initialize on load method. Let's do a static void, let's say init exec order. We'll just call it that for now. And I'm going to stick this attribute up here, okay? Just like that. And if I remember correctly, when you have a one that hasn't got any parameters, you can just simply do it like this. But if you have parameters, then of course you have to insert the parameters into the parentheses. So what we want to do here is something really cool and great, right? Well, it turns out that the initialization here is going to be, like I said, only done every time it's reloaded, but that's okay. This shouldn't really get a whole lot of, calls. I mean, we're not talking about slowing things down a whole lot. I mean, if you have a bunch of scripts that we're going to do this, maybe you'd want to build a manager of some sort. I don't know. But in any case, I'm going to break this out, and we're going to make another function that's called static void set execution order, like that. And one of the parameters it's going to take is the integer which determines the execution order. The other parameter that it's going to take is something that's called, actually, let's do it like this. I was going to say it's going to need what's called a monoscript, because a monoscript is how you actually do this stuff. What you do is you say mono importer dot set execution order, and that takes in what's called a monoscript and then the order. And a monoscript is just a representation of a script asset. And in this case, it would be a C# script. These, I believe, have gone, well, I think Boo is gone, and I believe JavaScript is going away. So it represents a C# script that's stored in the project. But let's think a little bit differently. So if I want to find an object, I can do find object of type, or I can do find object of type and use the generic, which is basically the same thing. Let's make this function something that we can reuse. So let's ask for a type of a script. So script type, and not types. I want type. And that's going to be using system. We want to say find object of type script type. So we're giving it a type that we want to find, right? And then we'll say var object equals that. And then we need to check and see if we actually found an object of that type. So if it's not equal to null, then that's when we're going to do this set execution order. Now, the question becomes, and I'm not sure because I haven't done any tests, because again, the amount of times this runs is just not that many. But you can do a check and see if the execution order of the current object is equal to the execution order you want to set. And if it is, you just don't set it. But the first thing we need to do, of course, is get, as I said a minute ago, the mono importer. You can get execution order also. And we need a monoscript. So what we can do is we can say monoscript dot, I believe it's from mono behavior, I think. And we can say object. So we're passing that object in. Is it from mono behavior or is it from, no, it's got to be from mono behavior. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's, I'm trying to remember if you just cast it like that. Let's see what that does. So we'll do var monoscript equals that. And then we'll get execution order from ms. And what we'll do is we'll check if that is not equal to the desired execution order that we want. And if it's not, then we will set the execution order of that monoscript to the execution order that we desire. Yeah. So then here, all we would have to do is call this set execution order. And we could say type of, and we could say, and you see I put it in script 2, which I shouldn't have done, but we'll just, let's move it back to script 1, even though this code, we're making it really generic so we can put it anywhere. I'm going to put it in script 1, which also means that I'm going to have to do this, which again, remember, I'm going to show you why this is not good. You never want to do this in a class that is not in the editor, not an editor script, which means that it's not, all editor scripts are supposed to belong into a folder called editor. And that editor folder can be any subfolder called editor. In any subfolder called editor, when Unity builds your game for distribution, it does not include any of that stuff in the game. So those editor scripts are just for the Unity editor. So we're kind of breaking a rule here whenever we do this, and it won't work, but I'm going to show you how to make it work. So we're kind of cheating. Cheating's fun, right? No, it's not. It's not good normally, but in this case, it's good. So we want to set the execution order of this script, and let's set it to minus 1010 just for fun. So I just saved it, and let's go over here to Unity and see. Let me go pull up the execution order, and let's check this out here. Mono behavior. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I took using Unity Engine out for that. My fault. Now let's see if I did it right. Yep, see, there it is. It's right there. Okay. So that works. But let's save this scene. Let's save this scene. Let's call it test. let's go to build settings. And let's add the test scene. Now we have Mac, Windows. Let's build a standalone. And let's put it right here. We'll call it test. Let's build it. Oh no! What happened? Well, as I said, using Unity Editor, the Unity Editor DLL in your scripts and your non-editor scripts is a no-no. You can't do it. You get these errors when you try to build because Unity's like, oh yeah, Unity Editor, sure, we can do, and then when you try to build it, it says, oh no, I don't include, it doesn't include Unity Editor DLL because that's only things for the Unity Editor, so we can't do this. But this is where preprocessor defines come to the rescue, and if you don't know what C# preprocessor defines are, they're just wonderful little things. Unity defines some for us that we can check in our code, and they allow us to conditionally have code included or not in our scripts. So the one we're going to look at is the one, and by the way, you can get to this under Unity documentation, platform dependent compilation. You can just Google, I believe, Unity 3D platform dependent, and this, I believe, will be the first, I think it's the first link. But there's several defined directives. So if you're in the Unity editor, whenever it compiles the scripts automatically, it will define this Unity editor define. So we can check for that, and that's what we're going to do. You can look through some of these other ones, and you can conditionally have code compiled and included for a bunch of different things, different Unity versions, Unity iOS or iPhone or Android, PS4, all that stuff. We're going to use Unity Editor because that's where we want this code to live, only in Unity Editor, right? So that we won't get these kind of errors. So we can't do this in a regular script, right? Because this is really for an editor-only script. Well, we're gonna say if Unity Editor can do this stuff, right? This is great stuff right here. Boom. Uh-oh, but what about this? No problem. We can just do our standard, instead of doing the using, we can just add that Unity Editor dot, so to specify the namespace completely. And now we are back to where we were before. And I can even show you that this will be fine. Let me go back to project settings. We'll do script execution order, and watch this. I'll try to set this to, let's try to move this to say 100. Oh, I probably missed it because it's probably still compiling. Yeah, okay, let's do this again. See if we can drag this down and do it here. Say apply. Now watch. Watch what happens. Watch it. Boom. It moved back. Because when I apply that, it does do just kind of a reload or recompile of all the scripts, and this gets called again. So it gets set back to where we wanted it. That's wonderful because that's exactly what we want. And oh, by the way, now we get script 1 printed. It's loading before script 2. That's great if we have a manager that we want to load before everything else. And probably in a later episode, I'll show you some instances where you would want to do that. All right, so now what we should be able to do is come in and build this project, and it should wait. Oh, hold on a minute. Wait a minute. I just thought about something. Okay, just wanted to make sure I don't have Unity Editor, remember, because we can't have a using Unity Editor in any of these scripts. And oh, there's one right there. That wouldn't work. We don't want that at all. So now let's go in here and try to build this, and we're all good. It will build because now we're not including that chunk of code whenever, and you can see build has succeeded. We're not including this chunk of code because when the Unity Editor builds for a platform, it does not define Unity Editor to the compiler, so that code is essentially gone. Fantastic. That is what we wanted. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to check, and that is let's see how often this set execution order happens. I think that we may have to add another little hunk of code in here to make everything good. Okay, so we got a high. Now let me play it and see if it comes in and does that code again. Yeah, it does. Okay, so we don't want it to do this again. Do you see what I mean? When I pressed play, it's going into that function again. See? Hi. We don't want it to do that. So basically, there is a nice little function call. You can say if application.isPlaying, then let's just return. We don't want to do any set. We don't want to set anything at all. And you could, instead of putting it here, you could put it here. But this works, and this makes for nicer code. If you're going to have several scripts that do this, let's just do it that way. So really, so that means if the application is actually playing, and remember we're in the Unity editor, so if it's playing in the editor, then and there's a bunch of these little, is editor. Are we running inside the Unity editor? Maybe we'll just use that one. That's probably better. Let's go ahead and put that debug back in, and we'll see if that actually comes back up. It should come up here as we recompiled it. But it didn't. Okay, let's just put is playing, because that's the same kind of thing. And we know that we're in the editor anyway because we're in between these if defs. So we should get the high back. There it is. But when we play, we shouldn't see the high anymore. Except that we do. Oh my goodness. So let's see. We really want to know are we running inside the editor? Well, let's check this. Oh, wait a minute. Did I okay. Is editor. Let's do this. Let's check these two fellows. So this may get executed before. So is editor is going to be true, but is application is playing is probably going to be false, because we're probably not playing yet. So let's that out. So this should be true, and this will probably be false. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. Yeah, see? So it knows that we're in the editor, but this is all done before we start playing, before the application starts playing. So then the question becomes, is there a way to turn this off when we're beginning? I'm not sure if there is, actually. In any case, I don't think it's a big performance hit anyway. It's just going to set that, going to look at that execution order and set it again if it's not correct, and it'll probably just be fine. I'm just one of those kind of people that's would like to have a really do it exactly the way I want it, which is doesn't look like that's going to happen, but hey, it's okay. So in any case, whenever you hit run, this is going to be executed anytime. So this initialize unload method is going to get called when you hit the play button as well. Just sort of a something to be aware of. But I think that this is going to really be useful for you, especially if you have a library of scripts and you need specific ones to execute before others. And that's going to be it for this UnityBits. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.